are here for the 9 p.m. Briefing with regards to the winter storm that has unfortunately been hitting our community for the last few days, though we have a lot of good news to report today, especially as it pertains to the work that has been accomplished since we started fighting this storm, which really wasn't that much more than 48 hours ago. We're pleased to be joined by Leanna from Deaf Access Services to provide the American Sign Language. I am also joined here by our Erie County Sheriff, John Garcia, as well as Under Sheriff William Cooley. We also are joined today by our Erie County Commissioner of Central Police Services, Jim Jancewicz, our Erie County Department of Public Works Commissioner, Bill Geary, our Deputy County Executive, Lisa Chimera, as well as our Erie County Commissioner of Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Dan Neverth Jr. So let's go right into it. We had a lot of snowfall. The most that was recorded by a train spotter from the National Weather Service, I think you've all heard by now, is 77 inches, a grand total of 6 feet 5 inches, the same height as Josh Allen. And that is a very, very large amount of snow. That was in Orchard Park at 74 inches recorded in Hamburg. Many areas received 48 inches or greater, 4 feet or above. This was one of the largest snowstorms. We set a record, as you may have heard, for the largest amount of snow that fell in a 24-hour period, breaking a record that went back to the 1960s from Watertown for New York State. We like being number one in a lot of things, but I think this one we're going to look back on and wish we weren't number one in. But this is just an example of how ferocious the storm has been since it first started hitting us a couple days ago. States of emergency are still in effect for many communities. I'm not going to go in through all the states of emergency, although the town of Amherst has lifted its state of emergency. Now, the driving ban, the driving ban is still the same, and the travel ban, as we've been having all day since this morning when it was changed from a portion of, or all of the city of Buffalo to a portion of the city of Buffalo, and these communities are still have a travel and driving ban in effect through 11:59 tonight. However, as of midnight, there are substantial changes that are being made to the travel and driving ban. We are removing the travel ban for the town of West Seneca, the town of Cheektowaga, the town of Lancaster, the town of Alden, the town of Marilla, Wales, Aurora, Boston, and Eden that are currently in effect. As of midnight, there will be a travel ban only in the towns of Evans, Hamburg, Orchard Park, the city of Lackawanna, and a continuation of the travel ban in a portion of the city of Buffalo from downtown and William Street south. So as of midnight tonight, there will be a tremendous drop in the number of communities where we have a travel ban. The rest of the communities will have a travel advisory. Why do we have a travel ban? We have a travel ban because of the conditions that are out there. We were around this community today in communities that had travel bans, and we were still getting reports of people on the roads who shouldn't be, including those who are still getting stuck, still having to get pulled out, and it's dangerous out there too. We have high lifts on the road that have buckets full of snow. We have large construction vehicles that you normally would not see on the road because they're taking the snow that is being picked up by the high lifts and they're dumping them at locations in Erie County. And this is not a safe situation because these are very, very large construction vehicles that you really don't want to be driving next to. And that's in addition to the plows that we have out there. So as of midnight, there is a big change. Once again, we will still have a travel driving ban in the city of Buffalo from downtown and William Street South, the city of Lackawanna, the towns of Orchard Park, Hamburg, and Evans. And the rest will go to a travel advisory. Everyone else that is still in a travel ban will be there to 11:59. Why? Because we're expecting this band of snow to come still, and we'll talk more about this band of snow across Erie County, potentially dropping 8 or 9 more inches of snow in a very short period of time. Travel ban, once again, means no travel. Law enforcement has written nearly 400 tickets. We are towing vehicles that actually have been stuck along the side of the road or involved in accidents because of, or just abandoned as a result of the owner during the snowstorm just walking away from them to try to seek shelter. So do not be the reason that an ambulance can't get to the hospital. There are a lot of roads in these communities that are going to still be in a travel ban as of midnight that haven't been touched yet. We had some calls today saying it's sunny out, and why is there still a travel ban in Hamburg? Well, if you've been in Hamburg, you know why there's a travel ban. It's still really bad there. Parts of Orchard Park are the same way. When you have 77 inches of snow fall in 24 hours, you're not going to be able to remove it immediately. So travel ban literally means no travel. 400 individuals have found out the hard way by being ticketed by law enforcement. Do not be the next one to be ticketed by law enforcement. Road closures. The I-190 is open, but exit 55 is closed. And if you attempt to get off at exits 56 or 57, which means you're trying to enter an area where a travel ban exists, you will meet a friendly neighborhood New York State trooper who will immediately give you a ticket for violating the travel ban. So while the thruway is now open, you cannot get off at exit 55, which is Route 219, due to the fact that it is not passable at this point. And if you try to get off at exit 56 and 57, you will, as I say, be met by a New York State trooper who will ticket you for violating the travel ban by entering a place that is under a travel ban. Route 219 from the thruway to Springville, as I noted, is still closed, as well as Route 400, the full length of the 400. Talked to the New York State Department of Transportation Commissioner just recently, Maria Teresa Dominguez, and they're hopeful that they'll be able to get the 400 open in the overnight hours. They're going to work on the 219 and hopefully have it by the morning. Not certain that's the case. It's closed now. You should assume it's still going to be closed in the morning. I'm going to turn it over to the Sheriff's Office. As I said, we have our Sheriff, John Garcia, as well as the Under-Sheriff, William Cooley, here to talk a little bit more about the issues that they've been dealing with. So, gentlemen.
Thank you, County Executive. Good evening. I can tell you deputies continue to clear the roads of numerous disabled and abandoned motor vehicles, and we've been engaged in dozens of what we call med runs, which involve picking up necessary medications for people that are unable to do so themselves for various reasons, including the travel ban, and also getting dialysis patients to their appointments. We also conducted the transport of vital medical personnel to several hospitals. And earlier today, we were going to put Air One up, our helicopter, to do aerial surveillance in an effort to help coordinate the cleanup efforts. And when our pilots arrived at the heliport, they realized that the structure was damaged and actually very close to caving in. So they acted very quick and were able to get the helicopter out, and it did not sustain any damage. So kudos to Sean Young and Ryan Rogers for their timeliness and quick action. Thereafter, they actually went up in the air and unfortunately had to be diverted off their surveillance operation as they began to investigate what appears to be a train versus pedestrian accident that happened down in Farnham. That matter is still under investigation, and our helicopter was able to lead the state police and our deputies, as well as railroad police, to some vital evidence, and like I said, that matter remains under investigation. Our jail management staff continues to work very hard and diligently. Many have actually stayed overnight at our facilities to continue with the operation. So it's been a real heck of an effort, and their dedication is noteworthy for sure. We know how difficult the storm's been on the residents of Erie County, and just know that numerous government entities are working and doing their utmost to gain the upper hand on this storm, and I think it's been going pretty well in that regard. Commissioner Geary and his crew, as well as all the highway superintendents and even private contractors that have been digging out, really deserve a lot of admiration and credit for what's been a massive undertaking. So, thank you.
Thank you, Undersheriff. We do certainly thank all of the members of law enforcement for their tremendous work during this period, from those that are in the field to those that are working behind the scenes, including our call takers and dispatchers that have been receiving hundreds and hundreds of calls through this incident. And we just thank each and every one of them, many of them have worked long shifts in the overnight hours, as well as having to stay over because other people couldn't come in to do the work that needed to be done. You can't walk away and just say, no, we're not going to do it. We have to do it in these situations, and I thank all of them who are involved. Department of Public Works, Erie County once again has all of its equipment out. We have been contracting with parties. We've got 43 high lifts and over 20 trucks on the road. We're assisting the municipalities with the cleanup, which is going very well. As long as we don't have problems with cars on the roads, the cleanups are going very well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Department of Public Works Commissioner Bill Geary to talk a little bit about what they've been seeing and what they think we're going to be able to accomplish in the next 24 hours if people stay off the roads.
Thanks, Connie. Good evening. Thanks. This has definitely been one big team effort, not just from every highway superintendent and highway department, but law enforcement, emergency services, and the public's help most of all. Our efforts today really got moving once we started getting a lot of the vehicles towed off the road to a staging area, and when the New York State Thruway was able to get open, all those tractor trailers were able to get off those roads, and we're seeing tremendous progress. The contractors that are working along side by side with all our highway staff, it's just it's amazing to see when you go south of the Cheektowaga Center here and get into the heart of it down in Hamburg. We still have a long way to go within the town of Hamburg. We're going to be working through the night. The people that probably have not seen too many plows in the last 24 hours, you're going to be hearing some huge snow blowers, high lifts. Buckets on the size of these high lifts could lift up a small vehicle. So we're very confident we're going to get through that area within the next 24 hours. And by tomorrow night, hopefully we're working on intersections and the community's back together. From a collaborative effort, though, I can tell you, hats off to Bob Telak in the town of Boston. Some of the superintendents, it happens in every community and at the state, and also with New York State Thruway. Those efforts, everybody was able to get a lot of work done today, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have this community back on its feet and back where it should be by Monday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. As we talked about, if you have abandoned your vehicle, there's a chance that it was towed by Erie County to a lot at the old McKinley Mall where the Sears store is. People are like, well, how can I guarantee that it was towed there? We have created a website, and an inventory of all the vehicles that have since been towed can be found on the erie.gov website at erie.gov towed vehicles, TOWEDVEHICLES. So you can go to that site and get an inventory of the vehicles and find out how you can pick up your vehicle. We don't have actually as many vehicles there as we thought we would. There are still a lot of vehicles in snowbanks on the side of the road that we have not gotten to yet to be towed. So if you do not see your vehicle listed and you abandon it, it just means it's not at our lot. It could still be in the same spot you abandoned it. It could have been towed somewhere else. We only can identify the ones that we towed to our lot at the old Sears store at the McKinley Mall on the corner of McKinley Parkway and Mile Strip in Hamburg/Blaisdell. So you once again go to erie.gov/towed vehicles to find a list of the ones that were there as of at least this afternoon. We are expecting to tow more vehicles there tomorrow. So if you don't see your vehicle listed now, it may be up there tomorrow. Once the towing companies get back out there, they stopped for the evening for safety purposes, especially with what we're expecting more snow in the next couple hours. Emergency warming shelters. There are a couple of emergency warming shelters still open, including a big one in the town of Hamburg. I'm going to turn it over to our Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Dan Neverth, to talk about the effort that was made to help these people. At one time, I believe there were over 200 individuals just in one of the shelters alone. So, Commissioner?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, beehive of activity here at the Emergency Operations Center today. We started with our operations brief first thing this morning, and I told the group, I said, We got good news and bad news. The good news is we've got a tremendous amount of resources, not only here, but also coming. The bad news is we have a tremendous amount of resources already here and still coming. And what I mean by that is you have to be able to coordinate it. So everybody was on task today. You get those resources to where they're needed. You have to also triage to make sure that if they need plows or high lifts, or in the case of the shelters, they need some supplies, that we're getting the appropriate amount, not overkill, not under, but also making sure that we're servicing all those areas. So that's the main function. Truly an honor to be able to work with the number of talented people that we have here, not only behind me, but also behind the scenes, as well as all of those in the towns and villages and cities who've been working, you know, without a break, and in some cases 24, 48, or more hours. We have here with us from New York State Office of Emergency Management. We also have New York State Fire assets here. And they're helping us with a lot of things, including today, we did several hundred inspections of different facilities that maybe they had some concerns about some potential collapse because of the weight of the snow. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of great people that are working here and around Erie County. And again, just to end it, your part in this whole thing here is to use common sense, stay off the road. Even though your driving ban is off, there's really nothing to see out there. And you can be driving in areas where there's bans, where we're inspecting things and doing whatnot, and the road is great. You go another 5 miles or so down the road, and it's a complete standstill because they're still working to eliminate that. So stay off the roads. And again, we'll get this thing open, as Commissioner Geary said, as quickly as we possibly can. As long as you're not out there driving around, it'll be quicker, it'll be sooner than later.
Thank you, Commissioner. The latest update from the Weather Service as of 7:30 is still predicting a significant snowfall. When I say significant, I'm not talking about feet, but there is the possibility, as you look at this map, for 6 to 8 inches to fall in a very rapid period, basically 2 hours over Erie County, including the affected area, which means if we've had 77 inches, you might get another 8 inches on top of that. And that's why we still have the driving bans for those large amount of municipalities that have been in effect all day, because it is expected that this snowfall is going to hit anytime from now through midnight and finally work its way out of Erie County by 1 o'clock in the morning. So we are going to see more snow. And as you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of snow. 8 inches, cars can get stuck. 4 inches cars can get stuck if they don't have good tires. Actually, 2 inches cars can get stuck and be spinning all over if they don't have good tires. So stay off the roads. There's no reason to be out there, no reason to be violating a driving ban. We need to still do work, so there's trying to do as much cleanup as possible before this next round of snow comes. And then that's hopefully it. Sunday is looking like a pretty decent day, not a whole lot of snow, maybe another inch or two. You can stay at home, watch the Bills game, and understand that we have a continuing effort that is still going on. While you're at home watching the game, there's still going to be a lot of people on the streets cleaning and doing additional work to help others in need. And please remember that, because we have a tremendous team effort, as has been said. Once again, shovel smart, very heavy wet snow. We thankfully have no additional deaths to report today as a result of cardiac events, so that's a good thing. We had the 2 yesterday, and that still are the only 2 deaths that are directly attributable to the snowstorm that we are aware of. Once again, because of the size of the snow, over 6 feet in some areas, a lot of places over 5 feet. The new ventless furnaces do have a vent still, and you do need to clean it out so that your furnace can work properly. So if you haven't done so, please go out there, fix it, clean out your dryer vents too, so you're not having the dryer gases come back into your home. And do a neighbor check if you haven't seen or heard from your neighbor recently, especially our seniors. Do a check. If you got their phone number, call them. If you have to go door to door, try to go door to door and see if they're okay, especially our seniors. We know that there were a number of power outages over the last 2 days. Last we saw, there were no power outages in Erie County anymore, and that's a good thing. But if you're a senior and you lose your power, you can lose your heat, and they could have maybe suffered during that situation. So if you haven't heard from a neighbor, especially a senior, do a neighbor check and make certain that they're okay. We are hopeful that when all is said and done by the end of tomorrow, that we are going to be back to business as normal on Monday. We don't know if that's exactly the case. We've had a lot of people reach out to us recently saying, what's Monday going to be like for schools? We don't know yet. We'll have a much better idea tomorrow based on the conditions. I do know, and we saw it when we traveled, especially in the areas that are hardest hit where the travel bans are still in effect, that it's one thing to have had 4, 5, or even 6 feet of snowfall, but then when you push it along the side of the road, you now can have drifts that are 10 feet tall, and none of the sidewalks have been plowed. So where are the kids going to walk in a lot of these neighborhoods? Are they going to walk in the street or bus with cars to go to schools? We certainly don't want that to happen. So there'll be conversations tomorrow with regards to the school districts about whether it is appropriate in some of the hardest hit areas for the school districts to open on Monday. We don't know the answer to that question yet. Once again, I want to thank all our partners. When we got here, when we opened up the Emergency Operations Center, there was basically a dozen people here at most. Now there's dozens of people from New York State, from Erie County, from our partner agencies, as well as our contractors, ensuring that we get through this as quickly as possible. I still think it's been an incredible effort by our community to get where we are. I thank everybody who's heeded the travel bans. You've made our lives so much easier. Just by having less vehicles on the road, we've been able to clear those roads a lot quicker and get to a point where we are today. 8 years ago, it was basically a 1-week response from when we started the cleanup to when we finished it, because there was so many cars that were stuck, there were so many issues that we had to deal with. We learned a lot from that storm, and as a result, I think you see it because of the incredible effort that's been put in. And here we are, just 48 hours really since the snow started, with the largest snowfall ever recorded in New York State history in a 24-hour period, and we're lifting travel bans as of midnight, and we're looking very good to hopefully be able to lift some more travel bans by the end of tomorrow. But, once again, as of midnight, there will still be travel bans in the city of Buffalo, from downtown William Street South, the city of Lackawanna, the towns of Orchard Park, Hamburg, and Evans. The other places that have travel bans still have them until midnight tonight. There's no reason to go out now. It's 9:30. Stay at home, wake up tomorrow, and let's all hope for a big Bills victory. Go Bills. And with that, I'll take some questions.
I know you said that you're going to be getting more into Hamburg and getting into some hard-hit areas, but is there maybe a percentage in terms of maybe an assessment of how much the town has been plowed, and not just Hamburg, but also Orchard Park?
There was questions with regards to have assessments been made with regards to the town of Hamburg, Orchard Park, and other areas to how much has been plowed. One of the reasons why we were able to open and lift the travel bans as of midnight in towns like Cheektowaga and West Seneca, Aurora, and the like is because pretty much the entire towns have been plowed, including side streets and neighborhoods. When we talk about Hamburg, Orchard Park, Evans, Lackawanna, that is not the case. They're starting to get into neighborhoods in some of those, and in a town like Orchard Park and Hamburg, they're still working on trying to clear the mains and the secondary roads as quickly as possible. But assessments are always made. I'll turn it over to Commissioner of Public Works, Bill Gary, to talk a little bit more about that. But one of the reasons why we're able to lift the travel bans in these other communities is because they have plowed, or at least been able to get down all of those roads so that people can now go about their business. But remember, please do not enter a place where there's a travel ban, because you're only going to hurt our efforts to clean those communities and get them open quicker. So, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. So, Jeff, yeah, to piggyback on what the county executive said, we're really focusing on the Wanaka area, right along the Old Lake Shore Road, down towards, from Route 5 where Old Lake Shore meets, down towards Evangola State Park Beach. That is the only part of Hamburg that has not really been touched. We had passable roads, so I would say 80% of the town of Hamburg's had at least one pass or multiple passes with our contractors. We had to dig our way towards that area. That was probably one of the heaviest hit areas where we're seeing snowfall tolls like we did in Orchard Park. What we were fortunate to have is come up from the south. We had equipment coming in from Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County that started from the south end going through our Concord districts. They were able to get into Orchard Park a little bit easier, and then we headed west towards the lake. New York State DOT has been doing the same thing. They started out this morning in the southern half by 5 and 20 in Angola and Evans, and we're all kind of converging either from the north side in the east pushing west, or from the north going south. Does that answer?
Yeah. And if I can add to it, Route 20, Southwestern Boulevard through Hamburg and into Evans is passable for vehicles, emergency vehicles. But as you know, Route 20 is basically 2 lanes east, 2 lanes west, in some areas even a passing lane. It was at most 2 lanes in total or a lane and a half in some places, and it was like driving on the moon, because there was so much hardpack. That's normally a road where people go 55 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, depending on the speed limit. We were doing 8 to get through there. So it just tells you that maybe they have gotten so that we can get emergency vehicles through, but it's not what people would normally expect. So that's why we're asking people to stay out of those areas, because while, as the commissioner said, we may have hit that road once, that doesn't mean that the road is passable for a lot of vehicles. It's still a lot of snow, and it's just enough room for us to get an emergency vehicle through.
How has it been responding to any emergency calls in those areas? With Snowdenver, there were so many reports of people in need of care, unable to get any help. Have you had any situations like that of someone calling 911, but sorry, man, we can't get to you because of all the snow?
I'll turn that over to our Commissioner of Central Police Services, Jim Jansowitz, and the Sheriff's Office to talk about. Central Police Services would basically handle the dispatch going out, and the Sheriff's Office would generally be the ones responding to those calls, so they have a better feel for that. Sheriff, Commissioner?
So just briefly, Jeff, today we handled about 2,500 calls countywide that came into the county dispatch system, and then those calls are sent to the appropriate jurisdiction, so whether that's the Sheriff's Office or one of the local police or fire agencies. So with that, I mean, there have been no issues in terms of not being able to get emergency services to wherever they need to go. So whether that's police, fire, or medical. Is it challenging at times in the last 48 hours? Absolutely, but there's been no issues where they have not been able to respond. So I'll turn it over to the sheriff if there's a further comment on that.
Absolutely. Jeff, in the 18 towns, villages, and Native American territories that we are the primary law enforcement agency, we have had tremendous response. And that's due to the great teamwork. We're able to get to the calls because of the Department of Public Works. We're able to get dispatched the calls because of Central Police Services. And we're able to get our deputies there because of the tremendous commitment that our deputies have had in staying over and working 18 hours and having people that have been volunteering to pick up our deputies, some of our retirees to pick up our deputies and bring them into work. So, you know, it's a team effort, and the goal is to serve the public, and we have had tremendous response. We haven't had any calls that have been unanswered in the areas that the Sheriff's Office covers, and it's half the territory in Erie County. So really, kudos to everybody that has made this happen. This is a team effort.
And with another,
I just wanted to reiterate too, because the fire and the EMS side of things, when a call comes in, it's, if it's an emergency, a health emergency or a fire, it's the fire department's dispatched to that or the appropriate ambulance. There's delays, obviously, as the county executive said, and Bill, you're going maybe 8 miles an hour, so there's a little bit of a delay. But no one that makes a 911 call that has an emergency is not attended to. We activated the statewide emergency plan, the mutual aid plan. So what we're doing is we're tapping not impacted fire departments from around Erie County and outside some of the contiguous counties. That gives these fire departments that have been staffing their departments for 48 hours plus a little bit of a break. So we bring these crews in here. We've kind of modified that a little bit. We've brought more appropriate equipment in rather than a Class A pumper and maybe some of the bigger apparatus. We brought in some of the equipment that gets around a little bit quicker. And we also, in a lot of the towns and villages, have done task forces where when you're sending somebody out for not only an EMS, you've got fire along with them as well as law enforcement and DPW. So we try and put that model together as well, but no call goes unanswered. It might be delayed, it might be triaged based on what the dispatch is saying about your particular illness or your call. But no calls have gone unanswered.
with another round of snow coming in, what's the plan for roads, for plowing, for salting,
Yeah.
that type of stuff?
No rest for the men and women of any public works tonight. We're looking forward to next week and some milder temperatures and hopefully less precip. So if Don Paul could come through for us, that'd be much appreciated.
With the talk about schools and the conversation tomorrow or with schools, would it be up to individual school districts to make that decision, or is that something that you could say, look, we still have the driving ban?
The question is with regards to schools and the conversations we'll have, who will be sort of responsible. Well, if a driving ban is still in effect as of Monday in any community, then of course the school would be closed. That means it's not safe. We will revisit it tomorrow with the conversations that we have. I'm hopeful they'll be able to get through most of these towns tomorrow in the city of Lackawanna and Buffalo. I don't know if that'll be the case. There's a lot of equipment that's in, and there's more equipment that's actually coming from New York State to handle some of these areas where the drifts, because of how the snow's been pushed, is over 10 feet tall. We'll just have to kind of wait and see tomorrow where we are as a result of the snow from tonight and the effort that they are to clean it. They're going to have to go back on some of those roads that we cleaned. So they're going to have to take themselves out of doing the work that they were doing in the neighborhoods and some of the secondaries, because if we get 9 inches or 8 inches of snow in the next couple hours, they got to go back and clean those main roads, which are basically down to pavement. So it may delay the effort. It'd be conjecture to say, but I can tell you this: if a driving ban is still in effect, travel ban in a community on Monday morning, there will be no school in that community. Any other questions?
You mentioned cars, there being fewer of them that were towed to the Canal. Any count in that regard, or any number that you expect to be pulling out over the next couple of days? And is this going to be a multi-day process in that sense?
There's less than 100 that have been towed there, which is incredible compared to nearly 1,000 that we dealt with 8 years ago. It was a staging location for tractor trailers. They were towed there if needed to, as well as staged, and we had at one point about 50, 60 tractor trailers there, but they've basically left now that the thruway's been open. It is remarkable compared to what we dealt with. There are still dozens and dozens of vehicles that are stuck on the road. Some of them are not going to be drivable. I saw some that had serious damage after probably being hit by plows. So the owner may think that their car is sitting at our lot, and it might not be. It might be still on the side of the road in a snowbank, having had a plow hit the whole side of it or hit the back of it. And we did get incidents of plow drivers not seeing because the weather was so bad that they hit right into the back of a vehicle that just had been abandoned in the road. So I think some owners are going to be unfortunately in for a rude awakening when they find out that their vehicle was heavily damaged. But that's what happens when you have blinding snow and vehicles that are left abandoned on the road.
Do you know how long the National Guard will be here?
The question was, do I know how long the National Guard will be here? And I don't know. I believe they're going to be here until the cleanup is over. They were sent out on multiple tasks today. They were here stationed for a while. There was a group that was also stationed elsewhere. And I'm fairly confident they'll be here as long as we still need to clean up this community.
Good news with the thruway in that regard. Any indication that you guys have with the 219 or the 400? Any changes in that?
The 219 and 400 are still closed. The 400, I hear, is in better shape. I'm hoping that the Department of Transportation will be able to get that open tomorrow morning. I'm not certain if that's the case. The 219 still had more work to do. I know, Sheriff, you were talking about it. I don't know how long it's going to be, but there was still a lot of work that had to be done on the 219, which is always a difficult road to begin with. But then when you add that many feet of snow, it takes a little longer for a cleanup on the 219 than the 400, also because it's longer. Anything else? If not, I hope everyone has a good, safe night. Please honor the travel bans. It makes our lives so much easier. And there will be a presentation tomorrow morning with any updates as a result of the snow tonight and the cleanup efforts. But once again, to all, be safe and well. And thank you to all of our workers who've just done a tremendous job over these last 48 hours. I will put it out there that I don't think any other community would have gotten through the storm as quickly as we did, because of the tremendous effort of all these individuals and the professionals that we have in every facet of the response. There are many communities that probably be shut down for more than a week to 2 weeks because of what happened. And here we are talking literally a little more than 24 hours after the snow hit that we're in a pretty good position compared to what we thought we'd be. And hopefully by the end of tomorrow, maybe we'll be able to lift all the travel bans. So that's a testament to everybody who's put in hard work, and I thank you. I'm proud of the work that you've done. Thank you. Good night, everyone.